Welcome, dear faithful, to the podcast that, talks about, dives into the sabotage, betrayal, and murder of the current season of the Traitors. We are your Trader Joes. Welcome. Hello, Traitors. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon, Joe.
Are you feeling treacherous today, or are you feeling faithful today?
I'm feeling faithful today.
Feeling fabulous, faithful, traitor-ish.
Trader Trish.
Fit, fab, and faithful.
Mm-hmm.
Nice to see you again, Joe.
Nice to see you. We had a mini Joe reunion. We had I would say a working dinner. I think
we had a good discussion.
We did. We've had many discussions.
I think Arjo and I learned that we are similar conversationalists.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What's that mean?
What does that mean? He doesn't know. I didn't tell him anything.
Yeah. We also had some great ramen. Mm-hmm. We had Joe and the Juice, our future sponsor for Trader Joe's, I'm sure.
Right. Joe's and the Juice.
We'll change the Joe's from Trader Joe's to Joe and the Juice.
Oh, that was good.
Okay, do you guys have any Joes today? I'm just drinking.
I have a new Joe. So I am having let me present this to the pod. So I'm having coffee syrup with my oat milk. So I'm having a coffee milk today. Milk Joe.
Oh,
Rhode Island's
finest off of a recent
coffee
excursion.
Syrup.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
It's really good. If you want just like a sweet coffee, but not flavored, like actual shot, it's pretty good.
Interesting. All right.
Mm-hmm. I've got my usual Franck's latte, but I have unfortunate news this week that we learned that Franck's is shutting down after this week. So this is the last. This is the last.
They will not be sponsoring.
I saw the Instagram post that was kind of cryptic. I left a comment. They confirmed. I got in the car. I got a latte and 2 bottles, and this is the last.
And then this is
Franck's.
it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's your actual last bottle?
This is the last bottle this week. I mean, they only stay good for days, so like the expiration date is today on these bottles.
Jesus.
So in the off season after Trader Joe's, we'll be finding a new local nut milk.
A new local nut milk sponsor.
Are they like done, or are they like going to, you know?
We think they're done.
We believe they are done. Yeah.
Wow.
Just the scale wasn't there, I don't think.
Yeah. Woof.
But you know,
it's rough out here.
We have a bottle inventory of old bottles that we intended to give back to them for recycling, but
not anymore. Make some nice planners off of it, I guess. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
anyway.
That's nice, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about who the fuck did MJ vote for.
The penultimate episode.
Penultimate, bitch.
It's almost it.
I mean, it's to kind of get into like what we're going. This is the penultimate episode. It's setting up what the storylines we're going to have for the finale, right? And it's just so crazy to think that MJ is here. I have my fan out to just like really emphasize that. Who knew MJ would be like that pivotal character for us?
I mean, I would say she is the most surprising person that I'm seeing in the finale. Everyone else, I think I could see a path for. Her, shocked.
Yeah.
Shocked.
I think she got brought in. She's a Bravo girl. Mm-hmm. You know, she's got friends.
Yeah.
But, I think this episode, she's figuring things out.
Yeah.
Brought by Bravo.
Well, we didn't discuss it, but would you like, Jeff? Do you want to talk banishment?
Sure.
And then I'll do the last banish. I'll bookend it. And then
banishment to banishment.
I gotcha.
So banishment 1, we get the resolution of the cliffhanger from last week. MJ votes Peter out.
Who?
Mm-hmm.
Peter. He's done. Not Phaedra. You had to look real closely on that board. As a matter of fact, looking at it now, it could say Peter or Phaedra.
I know.
So Peter gets up. He says, "I tried to save you guys. Take care," and he's out. He was a faithful. You see Phaedra calmly reacting by drinking a little sip of water while everyone else is kind of debriefing. She is not bothered at all.
Hashtag unbothered. Yeah.
Trishelle's like, we tried to tell you. Phaedra gets up. She is done. We got him. We're good to go. Trishelle thanks CT for flipping And then afterwards, we get Trishelle, Sandra, Kate, and Shereé in the kitchen, where they're all kind of just saying, there's too much evidence on Phaedra to let this just slide. CT's a little frustrated that MJ didn't change her vote, but MJ continues to say at this point that the arguments against Phaedra were too weak.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's true? Do you think MJ really wasn't convinced?
I think it's a little bit of she didn't want to believe it, I think.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that I think is the worst part about being a faithful is you just have to blindly trust someone at the beginning almost sometimes. And it's more of a knock on you feeling like, well, I've been duped, I don't want to believe that I have been
I don't want to admit to have been wrong for so long. Yeah. And I think I got the sense this episode that without being told directly, MJ really admired Phaedra. Good or bad, fault or not. You could tell that she looked up to her in some way because we see this in just this series, but we know that Phaedra Parks is a legend. I think that was also a big part of it. It was the my hero would never betray me. That was kind of the sense I got from MJ of all the Bravo. Whereas Shereé and Phaedra are very obviously peers. They're equals. Salud. Didn't catch the mute button. They're equal. They're equals. Kate too, I think, because Kate's kind of been there. But I think MJ has always been to me, she's always felt like the Bravo girly who's hanging out with her big sisters. And so I just think she didn't want to believe it, like you said.
Yeah, it's very interesting to come out of this one because obviously there's this smugness that's coming from the people who voted for Phaedra, right? Knowing that we told you. And then from the Bravo camp, which, like we said, MJ and Shereé, I think they didn't want to believe it, right? And then Kate obviously doing the work to try and cover up the tracks to protect her fellow traitor. But it really starts kind of laying the realization for this strong block that there's
a traitor among them. Yeah. And I think the biggest setup we get is Shereé, which, we get the really incredible conversation at the end of the episode that we'll talk about, but I think
Isn't
Shereé,
it crazy?
It's so
the Shereé story. You're that's why she's here. That's why they put two of them here. So that way, if it was Phaedra, if they really planned out that Phaedra will be a traitor as we cast and prepare for the season,
how perfect to have someone so close to her, and also someone who has kind of their own story, their own backstory to deal with, but they can kind of clear it all away to have this moment, this experience together. I don't know. You also kind of get the sense from Phaedra that she's just what
she kind of knows.
Do I need 189K? Probably not, which is a tremendous luxury in itself. But she's whatever, y'all. It ain't that serious.
It ain't that serious. Yeah. And I think it really shows. I don't think that she handled this well, but I also don't see how else she could handle it that didn't feel genuine to who she is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And each conversation that we saw, the one-on-ones we saw with Phaedra, the whole episode, obviously there's a ton that we didn't see, but I just imagine every moment where someone asks her a really direct question, she's probably actually just you got me.
She's tired of it.
Yeah. She's this is silly.
It's me. Yeah. So what?
Why am I doing this? Why are we playing?
What do you need from me?
Yeah.
So we get some snippets of a few other conversations. CT and John and MJ talk. John thinks he's next. It says it's harder than politics.
I'm sure.
CT says Phaedra has been good to me, but his heart is now saying that she's a traitor. So he's pretty solidly flipped at this point. Obviously, he voted for her to go, but he's not turning back. Shereé and Sandra talk to Phaedra about the round table. Phaedra says she's overwhelmed. Everything was speculative. CT came out of nowhere. At this point, Shereé still doesn't think that Phaedra is a traitor, but that she did not do a good job defending herself. So this will change throughout this episode, but that's where it starts. So then we go to the murder. We go up to the turret, and they talk about the group going after Phaedra. Phaedra makes a little impression of John and his usual John isms. She says an interesting quote that CT switched up on me like a reversible belt. Dang. When was the last time any of us had a reversible belt?
I had one in high school.
Was it black and brown?
Yeah.
It was black and blue, and you just flipped the buckle.
Oh, you flipped the buckle.
H&M.
I had a black when H&M.
H&M, yeah.
That was around when you were young.
H&M, yes.
I mean, freshman year college.
Okay, yeah.
H&M was already.
I had a black and brown one, but the buckle definitely flipped for sure.
Oh yeah. You guys are old. That's right.
Shout out to the comments. We have one.
Oh, okay.
John, yeah, it's so interesting. So they end up voting for John, but the way that Kate has kind of flipped it to Phaedra, like it's all you. This is which is
she's taking Phaedra's part.
This is how Phaedra has played the entire game. As
she knows that. I think she knows that Phaedra's likely to go sooner. So, just let more things fall on Phaedra. And I'm sure the offline conversation in the car is let me take the fall next. I'm already on the block.
I'm already on.
I'll go next. I'll take the heat on this murder. Let me buy you a week, which was all we really have left, but still.
That's true. Yeah. So we see them do the vote handoff, and we have some internet tea about the timing here. Oh. So allegedly
this is the first time. This is the first time we've seen this.
We usually see a very, very small clip of this.
I think we'll see shots of
this. Sometimes just the hand acting. Yeah. So this is Phaedra. Kate is coming down the stairs there. There wasn't a clear shot of her though on the screen. So we get the handoff. Now, allegedly in season 1, this would go until 4 a.m. So if you were a traitor, the faithfuls ended around 1. So round table and the follow-up would end at 1. Then everyone goes in the cars back to the hotel. Mm-hmm. Then the traitors come back to the castle in the cars, and they finish this segment at 4 or 4:30.
From what we're told. That's late.
That explains why Kate is so tired that morning in the last episode at breakfast.
And why Phaedra's so hungry.
Yeah, that's a late night. Working up in that turret.
That's why she is always eating at breakfast. That's so funny.
She burns so many extra calories.
Everyone's got a full night's sleep, and they probably start filming at 10, 11?
I would say 10 probably.
But then they have to get ready. Then head over.
Yeah.
They were saying they started at 7, between 7 and 8.
Wild.
That's crazy.
That's no sleep. I can't do that. I need 9 hours now.
Yeah, we know.
All right. So the next day at breakfast, MJ and Sandra come in first together. They're very excited about this. MJ says she was up all night. She doesn't want to vote for Phaedra. Sandra says her mission is to get to the end with faithfuls. And then both of them tell each other.
I think we get a confessional of Sandra saying this at least 4 times in the episode.
Yes. She's very intent on this. And we know that both of them are going to end up in the final, but I think both of them could be in that final 4.
I think so too.
MJ and Sandra?
Yeah.
I think
we'll guess. We'll guess.
Okay,
yeah, we'll make it for later.
But I think I know where we were going with that foursome. So, Sandra's strategy says she wants to make friends and take all her friends with her, and vice versa. Sandra's MO this breakfast is guessing who's coming in based on the knocks.
I know. It's so funny. That's a girl knock for sure.
Boy knock.
Girl knock.
That's a dude knock.
She said
dude knock.
CT's was a dude knock. Phaedra's was a girl knock. Phaedra enters in this puffy pirate shirt.
Girl, pirates of Penzance, bitch.
She makes a comment at some point saying she genuinely likes CT.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not going to say it, but hey, play my pony.
Yeah.
Play pony.
Play pony by Genuine. CT guesses that John is gone. MJ.
It's pretty obvious.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of knows what the options are at this point, given what has happened in the previous weeks. MJ kind of feels around about Kate, so she's got thoughts on Kate. Sandra has thoughts on Kate. Mm-hmm. Keep that in your mind. Mm-hmm. Phaedra reinforces that Kate is a faithful. Sandra, like we just said, kind of calls it out that today John or Trishelle are leaving. You know, MJ is kind of realizing that if one of those two are murdered, that it's got to be Phaedra, right?
So when she said that, I was like, well, then should it have been smarter to kill someone off on the other side, or would it have not mattered no matter what?
I don't think she would do that based on something she says at the end. So at the end of the episode, did you catch that Phaedra said, and I think was her final confessional, she said, like, look at who's left. Like, these are all the people I wanted
that
there.
I want to win, yeah.
So I think at this point, we've been saying, she knows she's cooked. Yeah. So I think she's now saying, like, let me just make sure the people I like do still have a chance. Because it's no longer about trying to convince people it's not her.
It's not
she
her.
really is like, I like MJ, I like Sandra, perhaps I like Shereé, like I want those people in the end, so I will take other options out. I really think that's what it is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
And I'm sure that's what she's going to say at the reunion.
It'll be interesting to see what happens before they get to 4. And if there's another banishment, who they go after.
Is there another murder?
I'm thinking there might be another murder.
I think there's a murder and a bandit. I think there's a murder, which would take us to 5. I think a murder and then just the final fire at 5.
And then the final fire.
But the game ends at 4.
So they can't go to fire before 4?
That is like the rule.
Okay, then they will have a banishment.
So I think it's... Sorry. You think they'll just go to banishment and then the final fire?
I think there's going to be a murder at the top of the episode. Hopefully there's not another recruitment, because that would be a little too much. So they'll do that.
That would put us at 5.
Then they'll do a mission. Mm-hmm. Then they'll go to the round table to banish someone, and then we'll hit the final 4 fire.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we'll get, that's like a typical
So episode. The final fire will just have 4 people. That's what you're saying.
And they'll either stop or they'll keep going.
That's the point where you can stop.
And they can keep voting at 4.
Yeah, right.
But at 2, it has to end.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. All right. Crazy. So Trishelle and Kate enter next, and I don't know what's going on with Trishelle's wardrobe.
I literally, it was giving Muppets. It was giving.
She's out of clothes.
It's so.
She's just putting random pieces together at this point.
This is like
not good.
This is as if Trishelle was starring in Emily in Paris.
Trishelle in Paris.
Trishelle in Paris.
She was like, "I'm gonna."
Trishelle in Scotland.
I'm gonna give Emily in Paris. Right now.
What if that was like what she told her stylist? That was like the brief
I think she did, and they did her dirty, girl.
Well, have you seen the clothes on Emily in Paris?
Bright ass, like this is so bad with the like toffee. Like pant, like it's so bad.
The toffee pants. Those are straight up caramel.
Yeah, those are not good. She
is going to work at the Wonka factory in Glasgow.
Yeah, she's gonna be there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we quickly learn that John is murdered. Mm-hmm. You know, we get a flashback to the turret where the girlies say, you know, he just talks too much. He's got to go. He's too influential to the others. So, like, we have to get him out. You know, he gets his letter. He says he's not surprised by his macabre. Then we get reactions back at the breakfast. Phaedra is just chomping away while everyone talks.
She's busy, girl.
Could not be bothered.
Eating, girl.
MJ had a pretty iconic one-liner. They talk about his age, John's age, and CT asks, you know, does anyone know? And MJ goes, I don't think he's that old. I just think people in England don't get Botox.
It's so funny.
Girl,
it's so good.
Come on.
It's so good. I love it. I love it.
Do you think she had that like in the back of her mind, or if that was just like
I think it was like finally we can let loose because like
this group is getting small. We
the one person that isn't in our weird industry
orbit.
So true. The last man standing is CT.
Well,
the girls. With the
John had to go.
He made this whole bit about like whoever wins the mission gets a one-on-one date with
I thought it was funny.
That's so funny.
I wish we had more of a reaction from Phaedra.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, so he's playing the Bachelor, basically. Mm-hmm. He gives John a send-off with the toast in classic John accent. And
it's pretty good. I'm not going to lie.
Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then Alan enters. So we only got one look this episode with no variations, by the way. So a little disappointed in that.
Saving it for the finale.
How would you describe the look?
Brocade.
Very
berets.
simple.
We're back to berets.
Gold brocade, gold and black brocade jacket, the beret with a little gold accent, and then just some classic black
gloves
yeah,
and slacks.
it's definitely more
understated
for sure. Yeah,
he's saving the finale look,
which
for
is
next
funny
week.
because they're outside for the mission. Like this is like an indoor mission look.
This is an inside look.
Indoor mission. Yeah, there's no layering to go outdoors either.
No.
So
Must have been warm.
Must have been a warmer day. He teases that there's going to be a bridge-related challenge and to bring their wetsuits. So
I don't think it's really teasing.
It's pretty direct. Yeah, in the post-breakfast discussions, this is where it kind of gets a little bit interesting.
Did you see the tweet about the Sandra?
Yes. Tell us. What did you see?
Explain this.
They're outside playing this giant chessboard, but they're actually playing checkers. This is what Sandra said on Twitter. They're actually playing checkers because they don't know how to play chess. But then they stopped when they saw all the girls on the steps, and they thought that they were starting to talk. They were talking about them, so they stopped playing and go over there.
Which is kind of true. They were talking about them.
Yeah, so funny.
So yeah,
playing checkers with chess,
which is also funny because that is what we're doing this entire game.
You took
wow, metaphor, honey.
Were you gonna say that?
You literally, I was about to do a whole bit on chess and checkers, and you just yanked it away.
All right, do your bit.
No, it's fine. What I was gonna say is that
do your show me.
We do rate. That's like a old, that's like a kind of like a Big Brother Survivor trope. Is like I'm playing checkers, you're playing chess. So I did think it was a little ironic, and maybe that
but they're both playing. They're
both just playing
games.
checkers. Yeah.
So Sandra says that Phaedra could be the biggest traitor here, but she's gotta stay friends with her to be protected. Then we see MJ saying that she needs to talk to Kate and Shereé outside.
Let me see you outside.
Let me see you outside right now. She says that Shereé, you and I both know that we have to vote for Phaedra tonight. It's come to that, right?
Yeah.
Shereé says, if Phaedra is a traitor, I'm going to be sick.
It's funny.
It really is like everyone already knows who the vote is going to be. They're just trying to make sure that
we need to set up some conversations to make it happen.
So then Kate kind of presents the alternative, which it's very clear from this point on that there's only two names, but Phaedra is like the name. So, Kate kind of says, I was thinking we would go for like a number 2 next, like Sandra. And MJ's like, am I missing something? What are you talking about?
Yes, it's so funny because MJ was in this talking head. It looked like she was fully convinced, like, wow, I didn't even realize there could be she knew there was going to be another one, but didn't realize that it would be Sandra.
Yeah, she did say earlier at breakfast that she thought there were 2 traitors left, but I guess she didn't have her. She hadn't really picked Sandra. I'm not sure.
I don't think anyone has thought of who else it is because they're so focused.
Because they're so clear on Phaedra, and it was so clear that it was like Dan Parvati, Phaedra. It just kept opening up that oh yes, it's clear.
One led to the next.
Yeah. Yep. So we get inside Trishelle and CT.
This annoyed me so much.
Why? Tell me.
Because at the end of the day, Trishelle is not likable.
Yeah,
she is right? She's right. She is talking to M.
And so was Peter, and we didn't like him either.
Peter, but we didn't like him. They're like saying, we have to go out there right now. They have to stop voting for their Bravo girls or protecting their Bravo girls. Trishelle literally storms outside to be like, so are you guys going to start thinking with logic now?
Are you ready to talk logic and reason? We have a screenshot of this.
MJ's face literally is like,
what are you doing?
And she looks like fucking this.
Yeah, this is Emily
like a
in
Muppet
Paris,
Show look.
Trying to sell something to the French in the office, and they're like, "I'm not agreeing with you." Right? They don't get what she's.
RJ, do you watch Emily in Paris?
No.
Don't.
Okay, because you're trying really hard to set these up, and I can tell they're not living at all.
I've seen enough to know exactly what's going on in that show. So,
okay, but I want to point out something here. The brilliance of Trishelle is not
which is
brilliance.
something you'll never hear ever
Yeah, I've
again.
never heard that before.
The internet
episode title.
The internet, including her own tweets, have told us that her brilliance was not real because her whole "I read my notebook and put clues together" was a lie. What actually happened was that Dan came to her before the Dan voted out roundtable and basically said, "I'm gonna give up Phaedra, who is a traitor,
because I know
wink,
I'm going
wink,
tonight.
Because I know I'm going tonight. Listen to me." This whole time, we have been
the whole time.
Which, the whole time. Do you think that it would have been? I think that would be more interesting to watch. That like Dan.
Yes, of course.
In a room, pulls Trishelle aside. It was
Yes.
like, "Hey, I'm gonna bring out Phaedra because
this would have been a great flashback to bring."
Yes,
unless it happened off camera. I mean, unless it really happened off camera.
The writing could have been Trishelle like, I didn't even think about that, but now it's all connecting. So now I'm going to watch and then I'm going to watch it kind of grow, as opposed to her being like, I naturally figured out that it's Phaedra. I'm like, no,
she didn't.
You didn't.
But
none of you did.
Trishelle was putting a lot of stock in what she took away from Dan's performance that night. So this all makes a lot more sense.
I think we can talk about this later, but I think that this leads to a big question of like, how much did Dan's decision kind of like mess up Phaedra's game and like the show overall? And could he even in the terms of the game reveal Phaedra like this? Like, you're not supposed to give up another traitor.
Not supposed to, but I do think he thought, we've said it, like he thought that it would make a bigger wave, but I think it made enough of a splash that obviously it bore the seeds for people to be like, okay, well, now Phaedra is a possibility. Because I truly believe before Dan left, not a single person thought that it could even possibly be her.
And in all of the this week's press, Phaedra is sour on Dan.
Yes.
She is 0%.
Yes.
She is genuinely not a fan.
Not a fan of Dan.
Not a fan.
And I think just because the selling out was just like that
was probably where she started checking out herself. But what I guess in response to what you just said, Jeff, what I've been thinking about is for like maybe the last 2 episodes and this one too, like I don't really have a winner pick. I mean, I know that like there are people who I would be happy to see win and there are different paths I see and people I wouldn't be happy to see win.
Jeff is like, no, I have a clear winner.
Yeah, and that's fine. We can enjoy this. But what I wanted to, what this does make me think about and what I have been pondering lately is I actually am really satisfied in the unraveling that we get offline too, because these people are so captivating, because their webs are so woven. Like it is actually
her web.
So yeah, I'm trying to stay current, but I think that's actually been entertaining to me, is to watch the Janelle takes for the last 4 weeks, even without her, to see this whole Trishelle reveal. Well, I didn't know, and just kind of give it up. And what's funny is like, no one is like drawing the pitchforks for Dan. Like no one is reacting really extremely to anybody's like gameplay necessarily. And I think that does also say a lot about what we can get from this, even when, because like the missions are kind of lackluster. Like, if we see MJ get some money at the end, it's gonna be like cool, but like there's actually a lot more to enjoy from this, and I'm actually getting a lot more outside the show than the show itself. And I think it's not
about the destination.
I know. So anyways,
the Twitter / social media chatter is very high, and if you want to learn more about what happened at the reunion, you can subscribe to Janelle's X for $2.99 a month, which we have not done.
She has paywalled the good stuff.
I saw this teased behind a paywall.
Yeah.
So she teased it, or is it she's basically
you can just see the first line.
And she says like, yes, this was discussed at. So I'm hopeful it makes the cut. I do think the reunion's going to be great. It's going to be great, and there's going to be no way we have enough time.
I saw the pictures. They looked
like
the brief was it's Housewives, which is like we can have our opinions about. Yeah, and some of them look better as Housewives than others, but whatever.
Okay, so rounding up this conversation outside, Trishelle says you're keeping a traitor so that you guys are the lucky ones who get to the end with that traitor.
Which is
it's kind of
what
true.
Phaedra's game is. She's keeping her friends around.
MJ says, like, I'm not letting a traitor take this money. So,
but is that
Trishelle, you're a part of us.
Is that what she's saying? Is that what Trishelle's saying? Like, so then you get to be in the finals, but then
I think she's saying. I think she's.
But they're saying
I think she's saying that, but in her mind, she's jealous. She's not on the in with the traitor.
Which is funny because you made the click. You started the click.
I know, and she's a pick me girl, but she's on the wrong side.
Pick me.
Like this is now Trishelle's like she's bitter.
Yeah,
because like she was right, but not making any friends while being right, and that is not how you win this game.
She's not very influential.
No,
she's not. Yeah, she's not
and you have to influence people to get things.
No, the only person she's influenced is CT, who she's had history with. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's the only person that she's
maybe
quote, unquote,
John
won over.
Maybe
no,
John.
John was always Peter. So I guess she's always she won over Peter. I guess is the other one.
Ugh.
All right, so we go to the mission.
So another lackluster mission up front. Let me just say it, but they need to dig some gold coins out of a pile of dirt and then get them across a series of flotillas to a scale across a river and then make it back. And it's really just like a comedy of errors here. It's just like crash after crash after crash. The dog is there.
The dog is there. I've already said I don't care about the missions, but I especially don't care when they're physical because it's like it's not
what they're here for.
The game is to try and outsmart everyone through lying and social.
Endurance is not part of the build.
Endurance is not part of that. Being able to jump is not part of that. That I almost wish all the games were like more mental in a way. Like I really liked the closing puzzles, turning off all the lights, and when they open, you got to find what's missing. Like those are fun.
More mental games. Yeah. It's fine, but it's not great. And I think the notable moments here include a lot of Kate. I think Kate gets a lot of attention in this mission because we definitely need some more from her. So she mentions that she's going to be great because she has a background in surfing. So her talents include radio and surfing, I will say. But she also falls and has a good line where she says, I'm below deck. So that was, that was a good that was a nice setup from Alan, which I mean, I think he's right in his own jokes here. I really think he is.
Yeah. I think in the mission specifically, he is just, there's your cam.
He's just riffing.
Go for it.
Yeah. But I think the main thing to really notice here is that this mission is really successful because of two people.
The gamers.
Well, first of all, yes, we've already mentioned the dog, so let's not forget. Dog.
Yeah, let's not forget. But
Phaedra not.
Yeah, we do get a great moment. Phaedra said, "Oh, this is too
MJ
much.
has fallen in too many times."
Yeah,
MJ was trying to get that shield across.
Yeah,
she found the shield from the pile,
but she couldn't get it across.
She. This is the only way she can.
We needed a ticker of MJ falling because that's what this.
Times I know.
Yeah, that's what this setup was. But honestly, the only people who really get anywhere are
the two challenge people.
The two challenge people, the two people who've done physical games before. So we shouldn't be surprised by that. But I do think that CT and Trishelle put in some good work here.
Dumpy over here.
Yeah. Hey, we support the donk.
Yeah.
If he was on Survivor Australia, we would call those tree trunks. Yeah, I like CT. I mean, I don't think I had strong opinions about him either way before this because
he's really charmed me. Because I really thought
he's likable. He's so likable.
He is so likable. That's truly like what Peter and Trishelle like truly lacked. Even though because it was interesting because CT was not a Peter pal, right? Like he was someone that was on the outside. So like
he wasn't one of their like core five because he was so close to Phaedra. And I don't know. I guess Trishelle must have not worked very hard in the beginning to pull him in as a number, which I do think is interesting given that he is the person she definitely goes to the most. But and by this episode, we definitely see them linking up a lot.
Yeah.
I think that if we do have a murder before this, Trishelle is going to be gone. So if one of them had to make it, I'll be good with CT. But I mean, CT and Trishelle, they bring it home. We get almost the full 30,000 that they could have earned from this one. And
MJ finally wins the shield.
Yeah.
She jumps those.
She did it.
She gets her hero moment.
5 seconds left on the clock, as far as we are told.
As far as we know, I'm sure.
Yeah, the magic of editing. Phaedra does refer to CT at some point during the mission. We checked the subtitles, the captions. It's not
said indistinguishable.
It said indistinguishable, but she either calls him Castle Daddy, Muscle Daddy, or Hustle Daddy. What do you think it is? What do you think
I think they're all appropriate. I'm sure it's probably Muscle.
You think so? I like Castle Daddy because I think she's like smart enough to make it really relevant to where they are. So I'm gonna guess Castle Daddy. Yeah, they do fine. And then he's basically Alan's like, go get cleaned up because it's time for a round table. After the mission, we definitely get a lot of Sandra sussing people out. At one point, Sandra notices the group outside chit-chatting and she wants to know what's going on. So she just shows herself out there and says, "Hey, can I join?"
She was like, if I go out there, I think she was sitting next to Trishelle and she's like, when I go out there, she's with
Shereé. She's with Shereé. So Shereé and Sandra are inside, and then Trishelle, Kate, and MJ are out. Kate and MJ being together isn't really surprising, but I think what Sandra's worried about is what Trishelle's doing. And perhaps somewhere else along the day, Sandra heard her name. So she's like, I need to make sure I'm in the conversation so that my name isn't being spoken without me there.
Well, her biggest thing was that like Kate has always been so quiet, but she is doing a lot of talking outside right now.
Yeah, and that's probably that's suspicious for sure.
That's suspicious. That's a flag.
So Sandra tells Shereé that down, and she says, "Let me go see what's going on out there."
If I go out there and they stop talking, that means they were talking about.
Yeah, and she, she's not worried about leaving Phaedra and Shereé inside because she's good with them, and those two are good together. Yes. So she's like, "I'll take it." And then I do think this is like the most important part of the episode. It's the Shereé and Phaedra conversation right before banishment.
Yeah.
I was feeling emotional as I watched this.
So emotional. Theatrics.
Yeah, it was.
Storytelling.
It was
like truly dramatics. Like it's giving like Act 1 finale, right? Like
Absolutely.
It's like building everything so
curtains
it's gonna
coming down right after this. Yeah. And this is where in addition to all of that, I think there was some masterful editing happening here because the like long cuts before, or the long like pauses before Phaedra would actually respond, I was like, these cannot be real, because she's like hanging on to every word Shereé is saying, really
like
thinking
giving
about
no answers.
Yeah, and because at one point Shereé just says, "Are you a traitor?" And then you see a long pause. And then Phaedra says, "What did you say?" Like, as if they're not in the room together with like 4 cameras on them.
I know.
Nearly filming a segment where Phaedra knows what's happening. They know what's going to happen tonight. So it's like all of this.
I bet good.
Don't even need to prep for this. They know exactly what's happening here. And I think that like combos like this is why this season is so good. And why I don't care if Phaedra loses or not, because it's just entertaining television. It's so good. I just think this is like one of the best one-on-ones we've had. This, but then like the other, on the cringe side was the Parvati and Peter one. Like that was also pretty memorable. But this one's really
very different.
Very different, but really heartfelt.
So heartfelt. Truly catapulted Shereé as like the main character now, because it's like she has been the person who has blindly trusted her friend and now has really made the decision to, go with everyone and like really
to call her out. Yeah,
it's so good. It's so good, and it leads into Shereé saying she doesn't know which way she's gonna vote, but she's still holding out hope that like it's not Phaedra.
And Phaedra just says, "I'm not a traitor."
Of course. What else are you going to say?
You're right. No, to go to what you're saying about Act 1, like it would be this is like the perfect conversation right before a really great song. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Phaedra's just us, like, something to the tune of "I'm not a girl, not yet a woman." Like, there's got to be somewhere in between. Yeah, somewhere in between Traitor and Faithful. But I don't know. It's just a really good conversation. I fell in love with both of them a lot during this moment and just thought like this whole thing has been worth it for this moment. And
totally.
So what you said earlier of like, if the plan was to make Phaedra the traitor, then Shereé is like the perfect faithful to have alongside her. It's interesting because Parvati had like her perfect pair in Sandra. Dan had Janelle. I don't know a more like I don't think of, you don't think a lot of like Sandra and Parvati, like that's a thing. Like Dan and like there's not like an obvious blank.
Yeah.
But who's that guy that he lost to in the second season?
Ian.
No. I mean, they were like a pair on the show though.
Yes, but different levels here. Different levels. Yeah. No.
I think Janelle. I think it ended up being Janelle.
Yeah,
because I think
because she's on his level. Like they're
that's true.
Yeah, and they've been on together. So I think it was really satisfying to see them together so long to get this, because we didn't get a really
this is really the first moment that we see them, because they always just keep saying in the talking heads, Shereé's my number one, Phaedra's my number one. We go way back 30 years. Yeah.
And like just kind of the last thing I'll say here is we didn't really get like a resolution or like a kind of like, what's the word I'm thinking of?
Closure.
Yeah, a closure convo with Dan and Janelle, for example, or Sandra and Parvati. Like they didn't really get to like put the beef aside and kind of like lay it down. And so just again, I think like from a TV standpoint, it's really satisfying to see this. So I kind of have these like moments in the season where I'm like, oh, this is like a really good moment. And I think we're going to go back to this afterwards. And I think it's just really good. It's just good.
Go back to this as if this is like Shakespeare. Like this is.
Have you seen Phaedra's shirt? Could
So
be Shakespeare.
funny.
Look at that shirt.
So we go into the round table, and Miss Piggy over here, Jesus, I truly can't stand this look. I'm so
isn't she
sorry.
Janice? No, Janice would be too generous.
But it's giving that Muppet Show for sure.
Very.
So Trishelle is the one that speaks first. She says that every faithful has been insistent when they get votes that they're, Phaedra is not being proactive as a player.
And trying to defend herself, basically.
And this is kind of becomes the round table's like MO. MJ says that Phaedra's such a badass, but like doesn't same thing. Like she's so strong all the time. Sandra says that she's built this relationship with Phaedra and it's hard, but the signs of Phaedra being the traitor is there. Phaedra's like main concrete evidence has just been like, you don't have concrete evidence against me. This is all hearsay, which is the show. There's no concrete evidence in this game.
There's no clues to pick up. There's no
clues. They don't do anything. Like it's not messy. Like the only time they ever had anything concrete was when Parvati poisoned Ekin-Su.
No, the only concrete thing they have is votes because they get to see them.
Yeah.
Which is different than like Survivor or Big Brother, for example.
And Phaedra has done such a great job of making sure there's a reason for every vote that she gives. So
and every murder. Yeah.
So Shereé says that she can't just do blind loyalty, so she is really trying to be like, Phaedra, please, like in a plea,
give me a
reason to make it, to believe that you are not the traitor. And Phaedra just says that she is exhausted and she just is tired of fighting because she knows people are going to vote for her anyway. She has the votes against her anyway, so it doesn't matter. So she just says, I'm just tired of fighting. And it really makes sense with the gameplay that we've seen from Phaedra, right? Like she was always the diffuser when it came to Dan and Parvati making the active choices because she was so ingrained in the faithfuls that when it was time for her to be on this active role, she didn't want to do it.
No.
And I don't fault her for this. I think she just knows that she's done. And it's very Phaedra from the few housewives that I've seen. It's very Phaedra to be like, I'd rather just bow out gracefully and know that I did my best and was true to myself rather than sit here and spin like, well, maybe it's Trishelle, maybe it's CT, like just say things that she knows aren't true.
And what does she gain from that? Nothing.
She knows there's no point.
She knows there's no point. It's already cooked, like I said. And I think also she's thinking like 7 steps ahead here, and she's like, let me also imagine what the response will be, what the reaction will be. Like, I know my reputation. I know what people know me for. She was like, I'm fine.
Yeah, I'd rather just leave with myself intact, basically. Yeah. And Kate, after seeing this,
weird.
I think it's so interesting because Kate, I think, genuinely wants to play this game, but in the first game,
all the people who wanted to play are gone.
All the people
like
exactly.
Her.
In her first season, no one believed her, even though she like just wants to help the game. This season, she obviously like was recruited as a faithful, and so she is just taking a backseat up until she gets. This is like, as a traitor, is the only time she's played actively in the game, and I really like this decision that she is like, why have I been trying so hard to protect Phaedra when she's stopped defending herself?
You think so?
I think so. I think.
Okay.
I was really scared that she was going to put Sandra's name on there, but if she had voted for Sandra, she would be cooked.
That's true. It's too
and
obvious.
I think her tactic of trying to make the louder people decide that it's Sandra is a much better.
She's trying for sure. She's trying. She's not getting any. I don't think she's getting very far with it. But you're right. She's trying instead of being the one to just like. Because look what it's getting Trishelle.
Yeah, I think she knew based on those conversations that there wasn't enough momentum behind Sandra to make it worthwhile.
We gotta abort that mission.
But it's enough. I do think she's done enough work because she knows that there are people out there thinking that Sandra is the number 2.
But hold this thought for the final chapter of the episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. So they go into the votes. It's very clear. Phaedra gets votes from
everybody except for herself.
Everybody except for herself. She says, I'm going to pick CT because of girl power.
He's the only man left.
And
which is perfect.
Yeah, totally.
It's perfect.
So some of the votes.
CT calls her a sexist.
Yeah. I know. It's very funny.
It's great.
So MJ writes Phaedra in this, like, it's so small on the board.
Smaller than she wrote Peter last
Kate
night.
had a good quote here against Phaedra.
Yeah. I'm gonna build up to it. So let's do MJ. Sandra says, I have to play with my head and not my heart. Trishelle obviously votes for Phaedra. CT says, I think you came on here to be the opposite of who you are in real life, and I think you're the best traitor we've seen yet, which is so very sweet. It's so very sweet. You can even tell that Phaedra was like, thank you. Like, very appreciative.
She's like, that's enough for me. Like, this is...
Yes, totally.
This is enough.
Kate says, you're the only kind of vote not a person at this table otherwise I could stomach voting for. You're more selfish than skillful.
Wow.
And she was like, selfish. See, here's the thing. Her word choice.
I don't think, what do you think she was trying to say?
I think she was trying to say something that she knows that Phaedra will get as like this is me as your fellow traitor, but also to convince other people. I think what she's trying to get at was that she's being shellfish. She's being a shrimp.
Keep going.
She was selfish by not kind of doing the damn thing. You're not kind of being actively participating in trying to find people. Because even when they were in the like breakfast, she'd be like, Phaedra, who do you think is the traitor? And she's like, I don't know. It could be CT. It could be she just names everyone. Like, I think
it could be CT. It's not
the same Dan play of like, but at least she's naming names, but they don't mean anything.
Not at all.
I think that's one way to interpret it, but I think it also raises questions about what exactly Kate is talking about.
Yeah, like what is this? Because there's not a lot of beef between them, so it's kind of like, where does this come from?
I think it is coming from that she has not gotten any support as a traitor. She comes in, Phaedra has no plan. And they're just kind of like going for people, like they're just going after people that are loud.
Yeah.
So John and
Peter. I think if the shoe was on the other foot, Phaedra would have, and Kate was on her way out, Phaedra would have just kept her mouth shut.
Yeah, exactly.
She would have saved it for the reunion or texted her afterwards.
I think that's what she's really getting at it. That she's not actually. If she was
I don't know.
If she was a faithful, I think she would be more active. But because she's a traitor, she's not helping. the other.
Yeah, I didn't have a good reason in my mind for what this line was about, but I was wondering what it was, and maybe under all of it, it's like she's just trying to make it seem like she really is against Phaedra, but like we're all saying, it's not clicking in the bigger picture, everyone. And so everyone else is like, where the heck is this coming from?
Yeah.
But you're right, she's trying to like defend her decision to vote for Phaedra, but it's just not effective.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then at the end, Shereé votes for Phaedra and says that, it'll be really heartbroken if you're a traitor.
Ready to break your heart, girl.
Phaedra goes to the circle of truth and said, I am the most fabulous, faithful traitor. And everyone was like, now wait a damn minute. What is a faithful traitor? And I was like, she's saying she's a traitor. She's a traitor. We did it.
Of the 3 traitors, she's the only one who got at least airtime after revealing. Dan and Parvati walked right out. She kept going.
Yeah, she had a little bit more to say.
She had a talking head and was like, I achieved what I thought that I could achieve by the time,
No, I mean, like in the circle though, she also gets more words there of like talking about her experience and how happy she was to be there. And I just thought that was interesting compared to everyone else.
I wonder if that's just editing, because I think
of course it is, but it's also a choice to leave it in.
And I think for her, because it was so quote unquote obvious now, like there's no hiding it. So I think she does the reveal first and was like, you're right. And then gives the send off.
Let me give you myself. Shereé says, not a faithful traitor.
No faithful traitor. Shereé's like, what are you talking about, girl? Not I can sue, Lord. So Phaedra says, there's no hard feelings, and this has been the best experience. And I genuinely believe that from these people, that like this is a fun opportunity to do.
At this point, except for Shell, they like each other.
Yeah, they all like each other. Totally. And Phaedra says, like we said, in her talking head, that everyone sitting at the table is who she wanted. I don't believe that counts for Trishelle, but everyone else, I genuinely think,
which is why I think Trishelle will be murdered tonight. Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
All
right.
Alan says, "Bravo tutti" when they leave the room. Do you think that bravo is a little
cute? Yes, a little nod. You finally figured it out. There was a traitor in the Bravo like all along. Yeah. So after the banishment, they're like, "Okay, girl, there's clearly one more. There's got to be one more." Now the names are starting to get out there. Sandra asks Kate, "What did you mean by the selfish part?"
That's setting off alarm bells.
Yeah, she doesn't really give like a clear answer, but it's kind of the same vein that we've said. Like she's being selfish by not being helpful. Like that same argument that we hear a lot.
But again, Kate hasn't done or said enough.
Yeah,
for that to fit in, and someone
to fit in the people's stories about.
Yeah, and Sandra sees it all, has heard it all, and so she's like, why? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And MJ does kind of volley that and saying Phaedra was just here for Phaedra, not really for the team. But
I don't think that's kind of unkind, but okay. Who has the last word this episode again?
Who has the last word?
Queen of Queens. She says Kate attacking Phaedra made her uncomfortable, and it doesn't add up, and that she could be a traitor. And this basically sets it up that Kate's only option now is to convince everyone that Sandra is the last traitor. Sandra now believes that Kate.
I mean, the only world where that's going to work is if MJ and Shereé just pick Bravo lines and say like, okay, Bravo strong.
Let's
vote Bravo strong. But
it seems to me that the last episode is being set up as Kate versus Sandra. Mm-hmm. Sandra could think that Kate is a traitor, but I think it would be very smart for Sandra to not go for Kate until the final 4, and then throw that dust in, and get Kate out. That would be, and then Sandra wins. Like that's
convincing. Okay, let's paint it. Let's paint it. Let's paint this final 4.
So we got 6 people left, right?
Oh, and then Alan's look. She's like, great. That's it. That's
So we got CT, Kate. So we got Kate the traitor, and then we got 5 faithful. We got CT, MJ, Shereé, Sandra, Trishelle. Someone's getting murdered.
Who does Kate murder?
Kate murders
Trishelle.
Let's say Kate murders Trishelle.
Or Sandra. But I don't think so.
I know, because she wants Sandra to be painted as the last. She doesn't want to get rid of her last target.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I really think Trishelle. I think Trishelle goes. I think she's annoyed with Trishelle. So then that leaves them the 4 plus CT.
Yes. And then in the banishment, in Kate's mind, in the banishment,
how are we coming at this banishment?
They get rid of Sandra, and then in the final fire, her, Shereé, MJ, and CT are the true faithfuls. But then when if they banish Sandra, they're going to see that she's a faithful,
and then they're going to know there's still another one.
There's still another one. So the goal.
A faithful. I mean, no matter what,
no matter what, a faithful
is going to happen. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want Sandra to go during the next roundtable, assuming there is one. But I don't know who. If Trishelle gets murdered, who would the target be?
Yeah, I almost think that the true faithful of the
Kate
faithful
could just get rid of like CT or someone, and then
could be CT.
Maybe like a CT Trishelle thing she tries to like distract with. I don't know.
Because the true faithful of faithfuls are MJ and Shereé, and I think that's agreed upon by everyone.
Yeah, no one's worried about them.
No one's worried about them.
Shereé, no one suspects MJ.
So if I'm Sandra,
I bet the vote could go if they.
If I'm Sandra,
she should save Trishelle for the round table.
And murder who then?
I mean, if Kate's smart, she'll murder Sandra. None of us want it to happen, but that would be a pretty wise move. But I don't think it's going to happen. I don't know. Or maybe she does a Bravo girl just to throw it off, and she just takes out MJ.
She finally kills Shereé because what's the point of keeping Shereé anymore?
Or
no
MJ
one's protecting her.
Yeah, you don't need it. She doesn't need either of them.
That would be a more that would like distract, I think, a little bit more, is if she took out a Bravo babe.
She takes out a Bravo babe because she knows also Sandra has MJ and Shereé's votes. Or at least Shereé. I think she thinks that she can convince MJ. Yeah. I think she thinks Sandra
it would be a better move for Kate to take out MJ or Shereé.
So what do you think happens in the end? Does Kate win the money, or do the faithfuls prevail?
I think combination. I think faithfuls are winning no matter what.
I think the Sandra and Kate will happen at the final fire.
Okay. I think so too.
I think the banishment. I think they might get either Trishelle or CT out in the banishment if MJ or Shereé are the ones killed or murdered. And then I think,
and at that point, it could just be about wanting to keep their friends to the end versus
because if we
don't play with.
Yeah, there's something about like, I don't want to be like meta, but like the reality TV editing of it all tells me that Sandra plays a big role in
the finale.
What's happening in the season overall.
It's like the Shereé, the like big Shereé reveal that like there's still one more
payoff of Sandra having a big moment quite yet. So I think they're saving that to the end. So she either takes it all as like the last faithful or gets Kate somehow.
Oh, you think she will be the last faithful standing?
So Sandra is in it for herself. Always. Sandra is always number one. She does not care about anybody else.
But as a faithful, you have to end with 2, right?
No. She could throw in the fire, but then they would have to vote out another faithful that's not Sandra or Kate, right? So if
she could convince them that like MJ was a traitor or something.
If she gets to the final 4 and it's Kate and her and then 2 others, and then they
can vote 2 times.
They can vote multiple times.
And it only takes one person saying let's vote to force a vote.
Right. It's but then majority. She has to make sure she has the numbers on her side so she doesn't get voted out. Right. But if she can convince if she can convince Kate and somebody else to vote for another faithful, she could try and eliminate all the faithfuls and then
save Kate at the end.
She has to have someone else there to vote against Kate, though.
But that's the thing. Yes, when it's down to 2, that's it, right? You can't vote for the other person.
It's either 50-50 or Kate wins.
Or Kate wins, yeah.
That's right, yeah. So you can't be a faithful on your own.
I think that's what Sandra's goal is, to get to 50-50.
To get to 3.
I think she's going to get 50. This is my prediction. I think Sandra is going to get 50-50 with her and MJ, because I do think Shereé is going to get murdered. I think they're going to banish either CT or Trishelle. I'm going to say probably
Honestly,
CT.
You're right, because I think Shereé has the least to give us in the last episode.
Yeah.
Shereé's story is the things. You're right. With Phaedra out, you're right. Shereé's story is done. And it would be wise to keep the heat off Bravo if Bravo murders Bravo. You're right.
Yes, and
So
weaken
Shereé
Sandra.
out. And then I think it would be a Trishelle vote.
Oh, and then a Trishelle banishment, and then you think when they host
CT at the fire.
CT at the fire. CT at the fire. Okay, here we go. CT at the fire, and then Sandra says, "No, wait, Rue, I have another lipstick." And then
Candy, wait, Alan, wait.
And looks at MJ and says, "I think Kate is the last traitor. Do you want to take the risk with me and do this 50-50? Because you know that Kate did this, and this."
MJ being suspicious of Kate as well.
That one morning, both of them,
in this last episode, basically, I think that's what's happening. And because we got the MJ, Sandra,
and Sandra.
Right, I am writing down these. I'm writing down this prediction
because I think you could still play. You could still play
CT murdered
in the final fire, the final 4 fire, because because Kate can still think like, oh, great, they think it's CT, not me. So Sandra can get Kate to vote for it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we finally got there.
Damn.
All right. Before we wrap up, we have comments.
On yes.
YouTube. We have YouTube comments.
Let's read. Go for it.
J Dorado Tube says, over the age of 35 and listening to the review, we exist.
Yes!
Yeah. Hey, what is it? J Dorado. We're all over 35.
Yeah.
Are you?
No.
What? I thought you were a safe 35.
No.
Wow.
I am turning.
Were you born in the 90s?
I was 91.
Oh my god.
So does that? Okay, I'm 91. Does that mean I'm turning? I'm so bad.
You're 91. Turning 33.
I'm turning 33. Okay.
Wow.
I really thought you were a cool 35 with us.
No, not me.
We have 2 comments about dirty mac and cheese.
Oh yes, people were like, yes, they used cream of mushroom in it, right?
Yeah, Kyle Simmons says, I looked up dirty mac and cheese. Apparently, it has cream of mushroom soup added to it. No thanks.
No, thank you.
Do we agree?
No thanks. I agree with the no thanks.
Yeah, and then somebody named Shop Lollywood. I don't know who that.
I don't know her.
No, wait, I didn't notice the name.
I don't know her.
We don't know her / they them. But she says, Cheesecake Factory has fried mac and cheese, kids mac and cheese, and mac and cheese as a side. Surprisingly, the kids mac and cheese is different than the mac and cheese at the side. Kids get shells and cheese. So just in case you wanted a rundown of the mac and cheese options at Cheesecake Factory, this is the podcast for you.
Or these are the comments.
Yeah, these are the comments.
All right, I wrote down our predictions, so we will see if the Joes were right.
I'm staying parked on Sandra.
Oh yeah, most faithful.
Absolutely, I am.
Sandra, yeah, 100%.
I think this is what we just described is how the finale is going to pay off. So.
Let's see it. All right, okay, producers. Hopefully, we got it.
All right, producer Joe. See you next week.
Thank you, everyone. Make sure you stay tuned. We'll be recapping the finale next week, and don't forget to stay faithful. Goodbye. Ooh.
Discovering voices, building worlds. The Ampliverse.